Good morning. I'm putting some salt into a beaker of water. The mixture is stirred until the salt is completely dissolved in water. In your opinion, is there any difference in mess before and after the salt dissolves? To find out the answer, let's look at today's lesson.
After today's lesson, you are able to explain that mass remains constant during physical changes. Last lesson, you have learned that physical changes in matter can be identified by using our five senses or measuring tools, and physical changes in matter do not associate with a change in chemical composition. Examples of physical changes are melting, dissolving, and expansion. Does the mass remain constant during physical changes? Is there any difference between the mass of the ice cubes and water after the ice cubes melt into water?
Some ice cubes are placed into a beaker of water and the mass is measured. The ice cubes are left to melt. Then the mass of the beaker filled with the water is measured again.
The mass of ice cubes is same as the mass of water. When heat is absorbed, the ice cubes melt and turn into water due to the changes in arrangement and movement of particles. The quantity of particles does not change when ice cubes melt into water. Therefore, the mass of ice cube remains constant during the change of state from solid to liquid. Is there any difference in mass before and after the salt dissolves?
A spatula of salt is added into a beaker filled with some water. The mass of the beaker that contains salt and water is measured. The mixture is stirred until the salt is completely dissolved in water. The mass of the beaker filled with the salt solution is measured again.
The mass of water together with the salt is same as the mass of salt solution. When the salt dissolves in water, the salt particles move further apart and each particle is surrounded by water particles. Salt particles move through the water particles and form a salt solution. The number of salt particles and water particles do not change during this process. So, the mass of salt remains constant when dissolving in water. Is there any difference in the mass of the metal ball before and after heating?
The mass of a metal ball and ring are measured. The metal ball is heated for 5 minutes. The mass of the heated metal ball and ring are measured again.
The mass of the metal ball and ring are the same before and after heating. During expansion, the distance between the particles of the metal ball increases when they gain enough heat, but the quantity of particles does not change. So, the mass of the metal ball remains constant when it expands.
During physical changes, only the arrangement and movement of the particles in a matter will change, while the quantity of the particles in a matter remains unchanged. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Therefore, the mass of a matter remains constant during physical changes. This is called conservation of mass. That's all for today's lesson. Thank you.